guys, a very warm welcome guys to my channel. This particular afternoon I want us to focus on the president's visit in China. Especially there are remarks that he made yesterday that we are going to ask ourselves, or Kenyans are asking themselves, did the president make a diplomatic goof, or it's something that is in accordance with the international law, or whether the president's remarks are going to make us have a frosty relationship with our neighboring country, Tanzania and Uganda. I want to play the video first of what the president said before we put everything into context. And if it is your first time on my channel, could you kindly just spare a moment of your time and hit that subscription button and put on a notification bell as well, so that when I do subsequent videos you'll not miss out. Without further ado, let's watch the video.
Let me just explain to you why sometimes people find it easy to go to Uganda or Tanzania for purposes of getting goods and services to this country. It is exactly the problem I want to solve by signing the bilateral labor agreement. You know, the difference between us and our neighbors is that Kenya is in the middle income category. Our neighbors, Tanzania, Uganda, and all the other neighbors are in the least developed countries. They are in LCDs, LDCs, and we are in the other countries. So we are categorized higher than them, and therefore, while they export duty-free, Kenya exports with duty. And that is why you heard me say that is the agreement we want to negotiate. We want to negotiate a preferential trade agreement that will now put Kenya at par with our neighbors. You will not be experiencing the problems you are experiencing today.
Well, that's the video that is making round on social media, especially on X. And tips on X were asking themselves whether the president made a diplomatic blunder by uttering those words, and whether those words are going to put Kenya in trouble with these neighbors, because the neighbors are going to be perceived, or are going to perceive Kenya as trying to demean them in those remarks. But PS for Foreign Affairs Korir Sung'oei had this to say regarding those videos. He was answering a question by a Twitter user by the name Anwar Sadat, who asked if it is correct the president to use such words against our neighbors. PS Korir on his X or Twitter account said this: in context, President RUTO was addressing market access constraints Kenyan products to China face as a result of Kenya being non-LDC country. Our neighbors, to the contrary, do not face similar challenges, as they are designated as LDCs, small or micro LDCs, so to speak. The LDC category was established by the UN General Assembly in 1971 as an acknowledgement by international community that special support measures were needed to assist the least developed among the developing countries. UN. It is partly the reason Kenya negotiated the EPA with the EU and micro LDC access to EU market on preferential terms is unavailable to Kenya. A trade agreement with China along these lines will restore our parity of market access. Also, Mohamed Hersi had this to say regarding the president's remarks here, and this is what he tweeted on his X account, and his statements goes in agreement with what PS Korir Sung'oei had said. Mohamed Hersi had this to say: His Excellency the President was referring to UN classification of countries, hence Kenya is not listed as an LDC, which means that we will need to negotiate our case with other countries as non-LDC. The UN periodically identifies LDCs and highlighting their structural problem. The United Nations gives a strong signal to international community to need of special concession in support of micro LDCs. There are currently 44 countries designated by the United Nations as the least developed developed countries, LDCs, entitling them to preferential market access aid. Concession associated with LDC status include benefits in these areas as follows. 1. Development financing, notably grants and loans from donors and financial institutions. Kenya is missing out on such. 2. Multilateral trading system, such as preferential market access and special treatment. Kenya again is also missing out on preferential market access. 3. Technical assistance, notably toward trade mainstream enhanced integrated. If you see what Mohammed is saying, is sentiment echoes those of ALC, because he finalized, or he ends his tweets by saying, in no way our president trying to look down upon our neighbors, namely TZ and UG. No, it is an official listing by United Nations. In fact, Kenya graduated and we attempted to remain listed as LDC to be able to enjoy number 1 and number 2 concession listed above, and that was denied. Maybe he should have just focused on our case without mentioning our neighbors, just maybe, but again they are listed as LDC, and that's the stubborn fact. Now you know. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, because I think Mohammed has highlighted the issue very well, and he said perhaps the only problem the president made perhaps is just to refer to the neighbor. He would have just made his point without mentioning them. So it's not a beef, it's not a big issue out of that, but Tips on X were saying that perhaps the president had made a blunder to mention the neighbor or to demean them. And Mohammed has put it in context very well. I believe all of you have listened, or who are listening to this particular podcast, will understand that everything that the president made is in accordance with the World Trade and international law. Perhaps the only mistake he made is to mention the neighbors, but everything else he did in accordance with the World Trade Organization and international laws, which Kenyans is subjected to different treatment from that our neighbors are subjected to. So I hope that is settled down. If it is your first time on my channel, guys, could you kindly just spare a moment of your time before you sign out and hit that subscription button and put on a notification bell as well, so that when I do subsequent videos, you'll not miss out. Adios. Ciao, ciao.